Welcome to the Killer Author Club. 3 best-selling authors talking about killing, of the fictional kind, with the best thriller and suspense authors in the business. Killer conversations, killer cocktails, and killer guests, with your hosts, Kimberly Bell, Heather Gutenkauf, and Kara Ruda. This is the Killer Author Club.
Welcome to the Killer Author Club, everyone. Your favorite haunt where fictional murder is encouraged, alibis are optional, and the hemlock is always in bloom. I love that line. Before we officially welcome tonight's guest into the club, it's time for Killer Instinct. So, Andrea, no overthinking, no plotting, no lawyer present. Just answer short and sweet and deadly.
Okay, Last Ferry Out or First Boat In?
Ooh, First Boat In.
Plot twist or unreliable narrator?
Plot twist.
Delete 10,000 words or rewrite an ending?
I
Delete 10,000 words. That one's hard.
They're both awful, right?
Terrible.
Okay, right at sunrise or right at midnight?
Right at midnight, for sure.
Plot twist first or character first?
Ooh, character first.
Locked room or open ocean?
Both. Open ocean.
Tropical cocktail or strong coffee?
Oh, do I have to choose? Strong coffee.
And finally, writing retreat or research trip?
Ooh, research trip.
Yay. I love it. Thank you so much. You survived our first test for you, but wait until you see what we have in store now. I'm Killer Kara Ruda.
I'm Killer Andrea Bartz.
I'm Killer Kimberly Bell.
I'm Killer Heather Gutenkauf.
Everything we mentioned tonight, from giveaways to bonus podcast content to future guests, can be found at killerauthorclub.com. So now let's get to the heart of the matter. Kimberly, would you do the honors and introduce our special guest?
I would love to. Tonight's guest is one of the sharpest minds in psychological suspense. Andrea Bartz is a journalist and New York Times bestselling author whose novels include We Were Never Here, The Spare Room, The Lost Night, The Herd, and her newest thriller, The Last Ferry Out. Her books have been optioned for film and television, translated around the world, and have captivated more than 500,000 readers. Andrea, welcome to the Killer Author Club Hot Seat.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope I make it out alive. Fingers crossed.
We do too. All right. Can you tell us a little bit about The Last Ferry Out? Why should readers clear space in their beach bags this summer for your book?
Yeah. So The Last Ferry Out is a queer, twisty puzzle box mystery that I think is perfect for summer reading next to the pool or on a plane or on the beach or wherever your summer reading takes you. It's about a grieving woman who takes a ferry to the remote tropical island off of Cancun, where her partner died in an accident a few months earlier. And she goes intending to kind of say goodbye and get closure. While she's there, she meets this little group of expats that call this island home, and they're enchanting and welcoming. And they say, "Of course, we remember your fiance. She was great." And everything seems to be going well until she wakes up to a text from one of the expats. And he says, "You deserve to know the truth about your partner. Meet me at the cafe, 9 a.m. So she rushes to the cafe to meet him, and he doesn't show. And in fact, he seems to have disappeared from the island altogether. And so the more she starts to dig to figure out what happened to him and what happened to her fiance months earlier, the more she begins to suspect that it was no accident, and even worse, that she might be trapped on a little island with a killer. So it's got multiple POVs. It has a couple of timelines. It has all of these pieces that sort of come together like a puzzle to help figure out what happened. And hopefully it's a lot of fun to read.
It was a blast to read. And the paperback, you guys, is out today.
Yeah.
So readers,
Bag ready.
It's easier to read it in the bathtub, right?
Oh, totally. That too.
Readers, drop your questions in the comments. We will be watching for great ones throughout the show. But first, Heather, what are we drinking?
Oh, tonight we are drinking a sunset bonfire. So, Andrea, please tell us why you've chosen this as your special drink tonight. Looks great.
Yeah, so there is a scene in the book where the characters are standing around a bonfire. Our main character Abby and the different expats that she's met on the island. And so knowing that, I was very lucky to partner with a Mexican restaurant here in New York called La Esquina to have a launch event last year when the hardcover came out. And they helped me create some cocktails and cocktails that were specific to the book. And so this one kind of captures that moment. It's a little smoky. It's very Mexican feeling. And it's absolutely delicious, even though I'm not drinking it myself right now. I'm going a little softer, but it's a good one. And it goes down a little too easy, if anything.
Oh, well, it looks delicious. Cheers and congratulations on the paperback release and on a great read. Congrats.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
All right, you guys, we created the Killer Author Club so readers like you can get up close and personal with their favorite thriller writers. Our upcoming lineup is stacked with killers. We have Jessica Knoll, Noelle Ely, Charles Donnelly, and many, many more. But tonight, it's all about The Last Ferry Out. Here's what early readers had to say. Laura Dave called it twisty, shocking, and riveting with a narrator you won't stop rooting for.
And Publishers Weekly said a stylish serpentine thriller.
Catherine Stedman called it a salt-encrusted, propulsively cinematic thriller.
I love that, salt-encrusted. Not bad, but we'd rather hear from the person responsible. It's time for tonight's killer question. Okay, Andrea, how do you kill?
So this answer doesn't have too much to do with the book specifically, but I think a way that I slay and a way that I knock down, ideas that are not working for me is that when people talk about how AI in publishing is actually fine, or it's actually fine to be using chatbots in, your regular life or in all sorts of ways, big and small, I kill those ideas pretty quickly. I don't take any punches. And I am always quick to inform people that there's a huge cost that, in my opinion, is not worth it for using generative AI really in any form.
Yep, you do murder that way for sure. Yes.
You're playing those villains for sure.
And yes, as you guys probably have heard about, there's a class action lawsuit that Andrea's the lead named plaintiff on, and she's out there fighting for us authors, which is really, really great. So thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we'll turn to other kinds of murder. So The Last Ferry Out begins with irresistible premise. A woman travels to an island where her fiance died and begins to suspect it wasn't an accident. What was the first spark, or where did this whole idea come from? Was it the fiance, the island, or the expat community you found there, or what started this book?
Yeah, it was really the expat community and like the feelings I have toward expat communities. So back in February 2020, I spent a month traveling solo up the western coast of Mexico. Of course, at the time, I had no idea that was going to be great timing because the world was about to shut down. But I had a great February 2020. And everywhere I went, because I was traveling solo, I kind of met the locals, right? And, met some people who'd been there forever, but as an English speaker, primarily met and hung out with expat communities. And I was so fascinated by them because they were these people who had kind of parachuted out of the lives that they had been born into in order to come to this island. And some were working a little bit, but for the most part, they weren't really working. They weren't really learning Spanish. They were very, very close-knit, even though if they had all been in an English-speaking country together, I don't think they would have been friends. There was,
Right.
a woman in her 60s and a guy who was 23 and just these very sort of motley crews that really seemed to adore each other. And they were so friendly. And none of them gave me murder vibes, I should clarify. But I just couldn't get over like the complicated feelings I had around it. I mean, I'm first generation. My mother came over from Hungary as a child with her parents. And everyone refers to my grandparents as immigrants here in America. They're not expats. And there's sort of this question of who owns a place. And I was sort of turning up my nose at these people who had gotten out of the rat race But then I thought, I don't even like the rat race. I think we all should be relieved from the rat race. Capitalism is a scam. So why am I being so weird about these people and their decisions? And I just realized there was kind of this zapping core of strong feelings I had that I didn't understand. And usually for me, that's a good indication that I can wrap an entire narrative, and in this case, mystery around it. At the same time, I love taking kind of interesting social milieu, like close-knit, closed-door worlds, and really examining the relationships and the psychology within, and especially in my case, like taking that clique and throwing a dead body into the center. So that's kind of where I started. What if there was this interesting group of expats? I thought an island would be really fun because it creates a locked room thriller, right? You're literally hours from any other body of land. And these enchanting, really kind of fascinating, friendly, wonderful on the surface people who all have chosen to forsake their own lives, who all have something they're heading toward or running away from, some kind of secrets. And what if amidst that, there was a mysterious death, or a death that maybe didn't quite unfold the way that our main character believes? And so that was how I started wrapping the story around it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, speaking as an expat, there is something to be said about like that kind of bond that you create, especially when you're in a country that doesn't speak your mother language. And then you find these people who you can communicate with, and you get really close really fast. Yeah. But was there one person in that group of expats that you met that you were like, that's shady, that's weird, that's crazy, I'm going to use that in a book?
You know, no one's coming to mind as particularly shady, but there were just some stories that I thought, what in the, like, there was a woman from, I think she was from the Netherlands. She was from somewhere in Scandinavia. And she was just thinking she was going to pass through Mexico pretty quickly as part of her like North America tour, and met a native guy who didn't speak much English, and she didn't speak Spanish, and they fell in love, and she stayed there in this teeny tiny little town. She was from a city, and now have 2 kids. And that was so mind blowing to me. And I met this guy I can still picture so clearly, who sold literally all of his possessions, sold absolutely everything like that he owned, and just like showed up in Mexico because like somebody had mentioned it was a good place to live, and he had settled in this city. And I don't know, I think there's a big part of me that's envious of that sort of like letting life take you where it will feeling, because I am such a planner, I'm such a control freak. Right. So nothing that made me all that judgmental or seemed off, but I think it was bringing up a lot of stuff for me and a lot of my own insecurities and things. And that was what was interesting.
That's so cool. Yeah. Letting go of the expectations of what's expected of you, right? You got to get a job. You got to get married. You got to like all those things, like, screw it. I'm going to Mexico.
Yeah.
It's really amazing to me right now.
Like right now. Yeah. And getting out of the country.
I love getting to know Abby through the page. So she's determined, vulnerable, but she's flawed as well. Mm-hmm. Her journey was just told so beautifully throughout the book.
Thank you.
But also as a reader, I found myself yelling, don't get too close to the edge, or don't go in there. Tell us about Abby, where she came from, and did she come to you fully formed, or how did you develop her as this great, intriguing character in herself?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I think I wouldn't be doing my job if you weren't on the edge of your seat and full of dread and concern for this person who doesn't know that she's in a thriller. So to her, there must be a rational explanation for all of this, even though we know differently as readers. But no, none of my characters come to me fully formed, and I kind of learned their personalities by writing. And this was an interesting one because I told myself I was going to write the entire thing in first person from one character in one head, and it was going to be chronological and it was going to be straightforward. And that was how I was going to tell this story. Mm-hmm. Well, that turned out to be very not true. I discovered that I pretty quickly discovered that, hearing Abby discuss her grief and think about her partner, who again, at the beginning of the book has been dead for a few months. It was feeling flat, and I really wanted to see their relationship on the page, and I wanted to see her and Esther together. So then I started writing these additional elements that were sort of like flashbacks to their relationship where you actually can see them together and see these sort of critical moments in the time they had together. And then I got to a certain point where something happened that very much surprised me as a writer. I don't outline and have no idea where things are going. But I realized, oh, wow, we need to see the island through Esther's eyes as well. And so then I introduced another voice, which was Esther on a different timeline when Esther was on the island leading up to her death. And at that point, I got through most of the book when I realized I don't like that we're only hearing about this community and this island through the eyes of these two women who are outsiders. And the other characters we've gotten to know best are also expats. There's some locals that, they're interacting with, but we're never in those locals' heads. And so then I started adding another element. Why not? And that was sort of these vignettes, these kind of third person glimpses into the minds of both some of the expats and some of the local, community members. And those were really fun to write because they almost felt like little short stories. They were like little snapshots. So I wrote everything in the order I thought of it, which was not at all the order that it should exist. And by the end, I wrote the end and then I made an outline knowing that I would have to reorder everything. And I color coded it for different narrators and different, timelines and stuff. And that was the point where I realized I could do a reverse chronological order for the relationship flashbacks. We could start by seeing them at the end and then go back to seeing them meet. And that meant a lot of rearranging and just moving the puzzle pieces around in a way that felt satisfying and kind of snapped into place. So your original question was about Abby and getting to know her, but I think I didn't understand her until I was all the way at the end and had both spent a lot of time in her head and had at that point seen her through the eyes of a lot of other characters. And that was when I started to recognize, what are her real flaws? What's her outlook? What's the journey that she needs to go on and the lesson she needs to learn? But it was a real process of discovery. I did not know going in where we were headed at all.
So how many versions did you have?
I don't totally count because I'm like kind of moving things and trying things and deleting those 10,000 words, but putting them in another document as if I'm going to like save them for later.
But we never delete the words. We just move them into a different.
They're still safe and happy. They're fine. They're waiting for me when I need them. So I don't have an exact number, but I would say I probably have like 3 or 4 drafts before I let my beta readers read it. They're the first ones. And then it's another draft or 2 before it goes to my editor and agent. And then I'm in that back and forth of, you get your global revision notes, you get your line edits, you get your copy edits and all of those additional drafts. So a decent number, definitely double digits by the time we add it all up.
Is that pretty typical for you for a book, or is this like more than normal? Or
this is pretty typical. This is pretty typical because, like I said, I don't have an outline. And so I'm writing the first draft to figure out the outline, to figure out the plot, and to figure out the broad strokes of what is supposed to happen. Yeah. And this one took me, well, if anything, it took me a little bit longer to figure out. I had even turned in a draft to my agent and editor, and I knew it wasn't right. It was like 90% of the way there. Like the puzzle pieces were like lined up, but not quite snapping down. And then a friend of mine, Leah Rowan, who is also a thriller writer, she's one of my beta readers, and she had read it and we had discussed it and she'd given me some ideas, but like she knew too that something wasn't quite working. And I had just turned it in when she texted and she was like, wait, I have an idea, call me. And I called and she had actually a pretty simple switch that changed everything. And I pulled it back from my agent and editor, and so many things all of a sudden lined up and fell into place and made sense. And it had to, it enriched the themes and it all fit into place. So her one little, what if you change this one detail ended up changing everything, which love that feeling. But that sort of made a personal draft that did not expect.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah. And you said thrillers aren't just escapism. Why do you think readers are drawn to stories that scare them when the real world already provides plenty of anxiety?
Yeah, I think thrillers give us the opportunity, or at least me as a writer, but I think me as a reader too, they give us the opportunity to explore those fears and explore those what's if in a kind of safe and controlled environment. So I love horror movies. I love scary things. I love a haunted house. And I think it's because it feels, what's the word? It feels cathartic to get really terrified and have my adrenaline going and have endorphins and have my heart pounding and maybe even be shaking, but to do it on my own terms and to do it because I chose to be in that scenario. And then afterward, you get a nice come down, right? You have the adrenaline and then you have the come down. So it sort of calms you. And I'm very much somebody who, the scarier the thing I'm reading before bed, the better, the more relaxed I am. So,
that.
Oh, yeah, you're not like that.
No. No, I have to like put it down and like put it away someplace. Yeah, I can't get too scared before bed. I mean, if it's building up to that, that's fine. I know, then I can close it and then go to sleep. But not like I can't read the like climax right before bed.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little immune at this point where it's like it needs to be scarier and scarier to really scare me. But the world is scary, and I think it's satisfying as a reader to explore a world that we can put ourselves into and imagine ourselves seeing the world through the eyes of the narrator. In my case, right, writing in first person, but know that we ourselves are safe at home when reading it, and we can put it down and run away like you do, Kara, whenever we need to.
Right. You can dose it as a reader,
Yes.
right? If it gets too much, you can just like close it for a minute, or you can turn on the lights, or you can do whatever you need to do to keep going.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in addition to being a best-selling author, and you also have created this really cool support kind of group for writers, and you're very supportive of your fellow writers. And I love your Substack. Whenever I see a new Andy Substack dropping, I'm like, okay, what words of wisdom? Tell us a little bit about that. What do you think readers should know about the writing community and what it's like out there in the trenches?
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. And also thank you guys, because you create speaking of uplifting other authors, you guys are amazing at all of the work you put into the Killer Author Club and uplifting other people's books and spreading the goodness, which I just think is so amazing. I do it mostly like in pajamas, writing from bed. So you are being on camera are taking on a different beast, and I salute you. But I kept hearing that authors were supposed to have a newsletter, and I hated doing it. It just felt like this sort of like marketing promo thing on MailChimp that nobody wanted. And I was, in the meantime, seeing friends start Substacks, and they just felt so much more. They felt like blogs back in the day, where they were more focused on the writing, and they were longer form, and you could kind of go deeper on stuff. And I used to be a magazine editor. I worked in women's service, so magazines like Glamour and Self and Psychology Today, and I was writing sort of advicey stuff, right? How to improve your life in one way or another. And so I was still, the more I learned about the publishing industry, I kept feeling like I was aggregating this knowledge that for some reason was not easy to find. Publishing can kind of feel like this black box that nobody talks about, and you have to figure it out on your own. And if you don't know it, it's your own problem. And I've always been a very candid person. I've always been very pro transparency. I think that's good for everyone. And so I just kind of thought, what if I combine all of those forces and I start a Substack that aims to, demystify and get really real about what it takes to be a professional author. So that's craft, that's interviews with other amazing authors. In my case, though, it's written. I do it over GChat. I'm not as organized as you guys there. It's guest posts from other authors. It's my insights on the industry. It's really candid stuff that I wasn't sure if I was supposed to share, but now I do, like my sales numbers and stuff like that I know people are really curious about, and I couldn't come up with a good enough reason not to share. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a community that really is so supportive, and I've seen people like connect with each other from it and ask really great questions and have come to me with great ideas. So I've really enjoyed doing it. I don't think it is leading to book sales per se. People often say, oh, you need a newsletter for book sales, right? I don't think so, but I think it's one way that I can directly tap into the author community and just other people who care about books and publishing. And for that, it's been very rewarding. It's, I haven't mentioned the name, have I? It's called Get It Right, WRITE, Get It Right. And it's andreabartz.substack.com.
Yeah.
It's great. You guys, if you're interested at all in the writing community and kind of what goes on behind the scenes in publishing, sign up for it. It's fascinating. And I always love reading it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're pulling back the veil. We are hiding behind that curtain.
It is much needed in our industry. Okay, you guys. So Andrea is giving away 2 copies of The Last Ferry Out to lucky US viewers for a chance to win. Answer this question. It's a tough one, so we've made it multiple choice to help you get it right. The small group of people Abby finds on the island are A, hurricane survivors, B, 7 people, including a captain, a professor, and a movie star who were shipwrecked during a 3-hour tour, or C, expats.
It's a tough one, guys.
That was a good one.
Jeopardy theme song. Do, 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 do.
We do need that.
Yeah.
Oh, so drop your answer in the chats and we will pick a winner. Just tell us where you're from. And so the Killers were really big fans of independent bookstores, and Andrea has chosen Lofty Pigeon Books in Kensington, Brooklyn. So I love that. I love that design. Tell us a little bit about Lofty Pigeon and why it's special to you.
Yeah, Lofty Pigeon is amazing. They've opened within the last few years. They're pretty young and pretty new, but they have so much energy. They have an amazing selection. They're so kind, and they've become really a community hotspot. They do cool events like a silent reading club, like a silent book club, which is really fun. They have children's events. They have book launches, and it's in an area that is a little bit, I don't know if up and coming is right, but like didn't have maybe the coverage in terms of any bookstores that some of the bougier neighborhoods in Brooklyn already have. And so I just love going in there. I love seeing what they've put out. And they also have amazing merch, especially if anyone likes anything pigeon related. They have pigeon bagel postcards. They have crocheted pigeons. They have notepads that have pigeons and pizza. It's like it feels very New York specific, very kind of inside joke. And I've gotten some amazing merch from there. So Lofty Pigeon is just a really great locally owned and local bookstore here in Brooklyn.
That's awesome.
So we will drop the link in the comments so you can order The Last Ferry Out or any other books on your wish list from the Lofty Pigeon.
Exactly. I love a well-branded bookstore. That's fun.
Yeah, I actually don't know why it's called that. I should ask them, but they lean into it. I love it.
Yeah, they're all in now. So wherever it started, yeah. Okay, so writers of psychological suspense tend to read with a very particular eye, not just for pleasure, but for craft, inspiration, and occasionally permission to go even darker, although not me. Okay, Andrea, what's currently living on your killer bookshelf? What have you been reading lately?
So a book that I'm super excited to read that I haven't begun yet, but I know I'm going to love because I've loved all of her other books. It's called Someone Else's Husband. This is by Kimberly McCreight. It's also out today. It's out today in hardcover. And so it should be available wherever books are sold. And if you stop by the Lofty Pigeon or anywhere else, you should pick this up too. Kimberly writes amazing thrillers. Her best-selling one was called Reconstructing Amelia. But they're really character-driven. They're very psychological. They're very dark. And they come together in sort of this intricate, puzzly way that I think is really interesting. And I know from talking to her, because she's based in New York, that she also is a pantser, not a plotter. She is writing, figuring it out as she goes and starting with a cool premise and figuring it out from there. And so I know from her that this idea came to her when she herself was doing a trek to Mount Kilimanjaro, up to the top. She's very outdoorsy and athletic. And, speaking of interesting social milieu and these interesting little close-knit and closed-door worlds, I can't think of a more interesting group than a little pack covered in all their gear that's trekking their way up to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. So I'm very excited to read this one. And especially with it being out today, everyone should go check it out too.
It's a great title too.
Yes. Great cover and title.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, speaking of great books, we have 2 more fabulous new releases we wanted to celebrate tonight. First up is Sky Ring Water by Beau and Louis D'Amour. A pair of unlikely heroes, a woman without a name, and the undefeated agents of the Third Reich find themselves locked in a deadly race to control the greatest secret of the 20th century in this collaboration across time. Louis and his son, Beau. We also have Backstabbers by Eliza Jabbour. When 3 friends lose their way in a serial killer's old hunting ground, they must fight to survive the threat in the woods and each other in this spiky, heart-pounding slasher. Ooh, that sounds good. So we have 3 copies of Sky Ring Water and 1 copy of Backstabbers to give away to lucky US viewers. Comment if you want in and tell us where you're from. Good luck. And because we're all about shamelessly plugging our own murdery fun, don't miss the killer's latest reads.
Yes, Kara has We Were Never Friends, a sorority reunion that takes a very, very dark turn. Grab your copy.
And speaking of deadly parties, Heather's serving up the perfect hosts, an over-the-top gender reveal party that explodes in more ways than one.
And speaking of expats, Kimberly is taking you on a deadly European getaway and the expat affair, 2 Americans, the glittering diamond trade, and danger in Amsterdam.
Great. And we'd like to also say a big killer thanks to Book Reporter for sharing the murdery love. Stay up to date on bookish news and events at bookreporter.com.
All right, everybody. And Andy, we have really good news for you. You have survived the Killer Author Club.
Touch and go there for a minute.
Can you tell readers where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm probably most active on Instagram at Andy Bartz, ANDIBARTZ. As I talked about, I'm on Substack. It's andybartz.substack.com. I'm a little bit on Threads and TikTok, but otherwise you can find me through all of my books. So there's The Lost Night, The Herd, We Were Never Here. That one was my Reese's Book Club pick. The Spare Room, and as of today in paperback, The Last Ferry Out.
I love it. I think you might be a professional in wrapping up this show for us. She got everything in and it was seamless. I love that. Okay, thanks again for being here, Andy. And thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us tonight. All right, so Friday, our show drops as a podcast with bonus content that you won't hear here. So find all the links at killerauthorclub.com and sign up for our newsletter so you're the first to hear about our killer breaking news. We'll be back next week with Jessica Knoll discussing Helpless. For podcast, bonus content, merchandise, upcoming guests, and all things Killer Author Club, visit killerauthorclub.com. In the meantime,
trust no one.
Question everything.
And keep turning pages. Good night, everybody.
That does it for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to catch our next show live, we're every other Tuesday night on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For times, upcoming schedule, and to catch up on past episodes, visit us at killerauthorclub.com. Happy reading. Now get on out there and kill that TBR.